Patrick Mahomes type of arm. But it's going to be very important that Malik Willis takes the time to learn to go through his progressions properly. Because that was one of the biggest things he struggled with last year. Like I said earlier, he wasn't he came out of a system where it was just a one read system. So it was drop back and throw it to a designated receiver at X amount of yards. So the NFL works completely different. You have, at minimum 3 targets that you have to progress your way through. At maximum, you have 5 targets. So you got to learn to progress through your play calls. But like I said, Mike Vrabel had been talking really good about his progression and just all the improvements that he's made. Ryan Tannehill also came out and was talking about them training in the off season and how glad he is to see the improvement that he's made. So that's something that's very interesting.
Yeah. But and to the same thing, I was never against Malik Willis. I was against Malik Willis starting year one. Um, I think that with this being year two, of course he's progressed. We hope that he's progressed. If not, he would be, not very fundamentally football smart. Um, so hopefully the few games that he did play in last year, he was able to get in and kind of settle in and get the pace. And it was something that kind of always ran through his head about what the pace was going to be and things like that. So I really hope for improvement because we know that Ryan Tannehill, I mean, he's great now, but he may not be the long term answer. I don't know. I don't know if he's been given a fair shake to be the long term answer. To be honest with you, but there's obviously something there that Mike Vrabel sees. I'm not a coach, but you got to trust him.
Well, I
Um,
think. Sorry, go ahead.
but definitely, it's a good thing to see that he's improved. That's what you want to see from a year two quarterback. You want to see some improvement. You want to see some development. Um, the mentor that he took up with for this off season has really been able to step in and kind of show him the ways of the NFL and not just football wise, but also how to handle himself in certain situations. So we don't have a Haskins situation. But um, and I think that was very smart on the GM's side to kind of tell him, hey, I don't know what your future is, but whatever your future is, I think that you need to get a mentor, and I think that really helped him.
But yeah, like I said, Ryan Tannehill was training with Malik Willis during the off season. So we've seen a lot of good stuff coming from Tannehill's mouth on Malik Willis. I'd say my biggest concern is, and I called it during preseason last year, and I said it doesn't matter who's our quarterback, but as long as we have that offensive line that we had last year, it wasn't gonna the season wasn't gonna end up good. And you can't expect a year one quarterback to play behind a high school offensive line and produce at a high level.
Right.
It's just not logical to ask.
And I think that was some of our point too, is that we didn't want to see Malik Willis year one, regardless, just because
Yeah.
of who he was playing behind, the talent, the lack of talent. Because I think you said a lot when you said that he came from a one system,
One read
yeah,
offense.
one read
Yeah.
offense. Like, but he always had a wide receiver. Well, guess what? The Titans don't have.
Well, that's something else I'd like to kind of get into. Everybody's talking about Titans not really having a good wide receiver, but I think a lot of people forget that Traylon Burks was on the up and up when he got hurt last year, and he was playing some really good football for the Titans, and he was starting to just come out and show out. So, what are your thoughts on Traylon Burks?
I love the fact that I've heard such good things coming out of minicamp about Traylon. He's taken huge steps, according to the reports. Um, and you're right about that, but also Traylon was also a year one. You had to think about that, and so he hadn't gotten to see all of the reads of the defense either. So it was kind of a lose lose situation before Malik, even though he had a decent receiver, but at the same time, the receiver didn't have any more experience than he did in a live
Yeah.
football, scenario. And
Well, even
so,
the famous AJ Brown struggled his first year, and
exactly,
he had
exactly,
Tannehill throwing the rock to him. Well, no, I'll
exactly.
take that back because AJ had Mariota throwing the rock to him, and
Hmm.
then week 6, Mariota got benched for Tannehill.
Right. And
Actually, Gary, I think that was week 7 when Tannehill becomes the starter in that.
Yeah, he became the starter. It was during the middle of the game on week 6
he
that
was
they
hurt.
swapped. Yeah. So the reason I know that is I was literally watching the new Netflix series called Quarterbacks by the one and only Peyton Manning's new
Mm.
production called Omaha. So Production teamed up with the NFL, and they went behind the scenes last year and they filmed a full season's worth of Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. And Mariota was talking about getting benched and during week 6 for Tannehill, and what that did to his confidence. And let's kind of talk about that for a second. Not Mariota, but let's talk about getting benched, or somebody taking your spot, or what do y'all think if Tannehill comes out and it's just not Tannehill, because he had that ankle injury. Do you think it's going to be something that he'll be able to bounce back, or do you think that, we'll start to see a decline in his play?
I don't think it's the first time Tannehill's been benched. If you go back to his days in Miami, and he came back just fine. I think it's all about differences in who you are. You got to think about Mariota had been a star his whole life. He could do no wrong when he was a Duck, and you know he the NFL was a big wake up call for him, and so Tannehill, who somewhat had kind of a comeback story his whole life, Tannehill has always been kind of like the comeback kid. I don't think it bothers him as badly um, as it would someone like a Mariota or a Tua. You know, but even Tua had the experience at Alabama where he was benched for his backup too. And so I think every quarterback just kind of handles it differently. I definitely think it takes a toll on your mental stability. Either way, when you're at the vulnerable state that the Titans are at, you don't want to see that.
Yeah,
You
I
don't want to see
agree.
that. As bad as we want to see Malik play and all that stuff, that's not something, we never want to see someone lose their job. We never want to see someone lose their mental ability to be able to function in something that they've done their whole lives. So, you definitely want to wish the best behind your quarterback. Now, is there going to be time to change at some point? Yes. But I think as much as Malik can sit behind and kind of take up, because football is also a mental game. And as much as he can sit behind and kind of see, how much mental ability he's going to have in order to play a steady game, um, I think that that's going to be better for him and for the organization in the long run.
Yeah. So, what is Bryce? What is your opinion? Do you think Tannehill is a quarterback that could take us to the Super Bowl, or do you think that that he's just not that guy?
I I I think he can. I think he can get us there, but it's just a matter of the offensive line. Can the offensive line help him get, get over that hump?
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, I'd say my answer to that question would be I don't think Tannehill is a quarterback that can get you to the Super Bowl by himself. I think Tannehill has to have a full team built up around him. A great running back, a couple great wide receivers, a great offensive line, and a lot of good luck. And definitely have a good defense. But I think if you had the right team built around Tannehill, he could definitely probably get you to the promised land. I don't think that. I think when Tannehill's under the gun, when he's under pressure, he tends to make some scratch your head plays. You know, I wish I had the video to share with everybody, but when he came out with no helmet on, my sister lost her stuff. And then the very first play, he goes and throws an interception. That was against the Bengals, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
knew it.
and then the very last play was an interception. And you know, it's not just that game, but if you go back and you watch certain games and those like clutch moments when we really need the quarterback to just play a perfect series, not a perfect game, just a perfect series. You know, he goes out there and he makes one of those plays that you just end up scratching your head to. With that being said, though, Tannehill is the closest quarterback to get us to back to the Super Bowl, you know, since Steve McNair, and you know, it took us having to have one of the best running games in the NFL, Derrick Henry. You know, behind a great offensive line, we had AJ Brown balling out at the same time. You know, and we had an okay defense. If we would have had a better defense that year, I would be confident to say we probably would have made it to the Super Bowl. You know, but
And
go ahead.
and if we had a great defense that year, I think we definitely would have made it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people put a lot of things on, well, can this quarterback get us there? And I think that's the wrong thing to put it on, because it's, can this team get us there? Because it's the team that's going to go. You know, now you can't have a sucky quarterback and a sucky offensive line and no. Now, now a team can carry you, a position can carry you, you know, a little bit further in the game, but you have to be clicking
Well,
on all cylinders in order to make it to where you need to go.
if you look at Kansas City, you know, before they started Patrick Mahomes, they had Alex Smith, you know, and that is where I see Tannehill ceiling. I see him as an Alex Smith. He can get you to the playoffs, but he's just not going to be able to get you over into the Super Bowl. And what happened when Kansas City made the change to Patrick Mahomes? They had the same players, the same type of offense. They just had a quarterback who was, honestly, let's just got to say it, Patrick Mahomes is just out of this world, you
But
know.
he was just the
And
missing piece. You know what I'm saying?
and
Like, it's
so,
a whole puzzle. So he was just
but
the missing piece. And
but
sometimes it's like that, you know, and you
yeah,
can't
but
just put it all on one person.
what I'm saying, and I'm not, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's why I said, you know, if we had a better defense that year,
Defense,
I
yeah.
think we would have made it.
Because we
But
had all the pieces. We
I
had all
don't
the pieces,
think,
except for that one.
Tannehill is going to be that quarterback to get us there, and that's not me putting it all
Not
on him.
solely. Not solely.
And
You know,
that's
you've got your Peyton Mannings and your Tom Brady's that can get you there solely by their play, but they're once in a lifetime players. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
But I just don't see. I don't like you. You look at Big Ben, you know, from the Steelers. Big Ben was one of those players who, when he had, and Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, you know, those are two players that if they had a great offense around them, they can get you there, you
Right.
know. But I really don't feel comfortable with putting Tannehill in that conversation with Big Ben and Rodgers. I think that, you know, Tannehill, he definitely reminds me a lot of Alex Smith when he was going through Kansas City. Like I don't know why, but ever since, you know, that, especially that what was it, the Bengals game?
Well, I think so. You got to look at the pieces that Big Ben always had around him. He always had an excellent running back. He always had an excellent line, and he always had a steel curtain defense. That's what they were known for. So, you know, when you have all of those pieces, of course you're going to be able to make it further. I don't think you can just put it on one position.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not. I'm just. I don't think. And what I'm saying is, when we made that run and we got
Hmm.
to the AFC Championship, and we were playing. Who was it? We were playing.
We were getting beat
Kansas.
over the top every single time. It was Kansas City that
Yeah,
just
that's
flew
right. It
all
was
over
Kansas.
us.
And if you go back and if we had the defense we had the very next year, because our defense
Hmm.
was lights out the year after that. I think it'd have been a whole different story. But I think with where we are now, I don't think that Tannehill is going to be the one who elevates the offense to where it needs to be. Now, that's not me putting all of it on Tannehill because
Hmm.
we have a lot of holes and they are huge gaping holes. And my biggest concern, and I talked to Bryce about this, is the offensive line.
Yeah.
It's not the wide receivers, it's not the running back, it's not the tight end position. It's that offensive line because that's honestly where it starts and finishes for a quarterback and a running back.
Right.
What?
We're lucky. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Haley.
Well, I was gonna say, what do you make of like 2 years ago when Tannehill didn't have any weapons, when we had Julio hurt, AJ hurt, Henry hurt all at the same time for half the season, and he
I agree with
still
Haley.
got it done.
I
I mean,
agree with Haley,
I'm not,
and
I'm
he
not
knows
arguing like the whole. I'm not arguing the whole like postseason. Like obviously there's issues there, but I mean, Tannehill is pretty consistent even when even without his major players. Like
Yeah, I agree with
he's
that.
a good
Tannehill,
game manager at least, you know. So.
Yeah.
definitely. Tannehill is definitely a good, like you said, game manager. He's very consistent. You know, my big thing that I've noticed, since Tannehill's taken over, is just those critical moments, those big play moments. Fourth quarter, you really need a quarterback to have a perfect series. And then he goes out there and just does a boneheaded throw, or and it's not me putting him down because like you said, there's a lot of times when the wide receivers weren't where they were supposed to be, or tight ends or offensive line wasn't protecting properly. And
And I think too, a lot of things that people forget. We had a great team in '98 because of the influx of money. Tennessee is not an income tax sport. I mean, it's not an income tax
you mean
state.
99?
Yeah, '99. So Tennessee is not an income tax state, and so we're having to put into what into the team our own, dollars. And so a lot of the times we hit that cap before everyone else. And so we'll have the pieces there and then their pieces aren't getting paid what they want to get paid. And so then our pieces go away. And we have to rebuild. And it's a constant rebuilding. And I think the fans I think they understand that, but they get a little bit tired of, always rebuilding because it's like, God, this year we had the defense. Last year we had the offense. If we could ever get the offense and the defense together, um, and so, it's a constant battle with that for the GM, for whoever the GM is. They're coming in to bless them because it's a battle with that because it's all a business deal. When you get into the business of sports, it's all a huge business deal. And so, if we're ever lucky enough to have all the pieces together in Tennessee and players that are willing to play just for sport and not for money, like bless his heart, Derrick Henry and Keith Bullock stay taking, contract cuts and pay cuts for people to stay, then I think that, that's when we can really get all the pieces in here.
I was gonna say you were talking about fourth quarter comebacks because the other thing is that 2 years ago Tannehill led the league in fourth quarter comebacks
Mm.
for the season. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the criticism on Tannehill is it's not warranted. Like, I mean, there are obviously there are glaring issues like the Bengals game, which was not all on him, but you can't win when you when you got 4 interceptions or whatever. Like,
Mm.
I mean,
Mm.
Yeah,
but
or you
had
come out
9
onto the field.
sacks. We had
But-
9 sacks, and we
uh,
still lost.
I know, but not.
But I
not
mean,
all
no,
of
we
the-
almost won that game though. I mean,
mean,
we had the chance to win it. That's what blows my mind. Like you're talking about a nine, that was a 9 sack game, and who expected the Bengals to come out when they did like that? Nobody saw that coming. You
No.
know?
They knew when to turn it up.
And there
Yeah.
was, there was a lot of issues in that game. It wasn't all on Tannehill.
Mm.
But he just has, but I think that's the thing. It's like those, but sometimes we view him because of those big glaring like games that we see, we view him as that overall, but I don't think it's really
Yeah.
fair to him. I mean, he really is, he's pretty good at finishing games, not often does he let a game get out of hand and not be in it in the fourth quarter, and finishing out. So
I mean, I agree with Haley. I think he takes a lot of the rap because we're looking for someone to blame, and a lot of people just don't understand the antics and the business behind the whole
Well,
thing. And
and
he's
that's
face
kind of the
team.
nature of the
So,
NFL, though.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you see, that's
You
just
win,
where
you
fan bases
win,
go
you praise the
to.
quarterback. You lose,
Yeah.
you blame the quarterback. So
Exactly. And Peyton Manning, like I said earlier, I was watching the quarterback show on Netflix, and Peyton Manning, he went out and said right off the rip that, quarterback is one of the hardest positions to play in football, period. And it's because you not only have to know your play and what you are responsible for, but everybody else, including the defense and offense. You have to be able to look at them. You have to be able to tell what they're going to do, what they're thinking, and that's a lot to put on one person, So I definitely agree. Let me ask y'all this: if Tannehill was on a team we can use Kansas City. If Tannehill was playing quarterback for Kansas City, do y'all see him elevating his gameplay? Basically what I'm asking is, do y'all think that the way they are using Tannehill isn't to his fullest potential? Potential.
do you want to go first, Haley?
I mean, I don't know that they're not using him to his full potential. I mean, if you're saying would he succeed more in Kansas City, I think 100%, because I think anybody honestly would, like, as a quarterback, would succeed more with Andy Reid as their head coach, like 100%. And obviously weapons and all of that, but I
Yeah.
don't know that it's necessarily because we use him incorrectly. I mean, there's issues. If you look back at like Mariota, I think we 100% like I think that we ruined him by changing who he was, changing the quarterback that he was. I don't see that with Tannehill. I think Tannehill came here and was elevated from what he was in Miami, because I think we did use him correctly. So I don't necessarily. Yes, I absolutely think he would be better in Kansas City, but I don't necessarily think that's because we're doing something wrong with him.
Yeah. So what about you, April?
I don't think we're necessarily using him incorrectly. I think we're using him to the best of our ability. I think, any team you go to, they're going to have different talents, and so it's going to look different. I agree with Haley. It depends on the talent that's around you. Tennessee has built itself since 99 and Eddie George, 97, 96, 98, to be a run-first team, right? So we put all the pieces in place in order so we could play that hard-nosed football, be that run-first team. Every single running back we've had, we've just ran them into the ground pretty much. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad way to play. But when you have a quarterback like Tannehill and he is not instinctually a runner, then you have to start building the pieces around him. And it goes back to being that business deal, because it's like maybe he throws a better out route, but guess what? Maybe the receiver we have only can run a slant. You know what I'm saying? So maybe he has to adjust the way he plays. So would he play better or different at a different team? It depends on the people around him. It's always going to depend on the people around him.
I think Tannehill, I think a lot of people underestimate his running game. And I personally feel that, if we allow Tannehill to run the ball more, he would be a little bit more productive. Now, Tannehill does have an accurate arm, but we also have to remember
Tannehill was a wide receiver.
Yeah, so Tannehill's running capability is phenomenal. I think that, and this is why I asked that question, is, you go back and you look at, like I agree with Haley 100%. They ruined Mariota. Mariota was probably had the chance to be one of the greatest scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL, period. And then Tennessee got a hold of him and forced him to completely change up. But I think that if we allowed the quarterbacks to play more instinctively with their scrambling and just, instead of, let's look at like Malik Willis. Now I get Vrabel wanted to see Malik Willis throw the ball, but y'all seen how he put Malik Willis down in the preseason for scrambling. You know, I get why they did that, but at the end of the day, that scramble from Tannehill could be what puts us, from a 4-1 or 4-3 into winning, a AFC championship game. So, I think that we have to learn to allow them to be, I guess, more distinctive with their, instinct. Just if they feel like it's there, let them take it. Stop trying to coach them out of it. Let them be a playmaker.
Here's the thing about that, though. I understand completely, and I think that was one of our issues, Gary, last year that we talked about, that we did not want them to change Malik into something that he wasn't, because him being able to run was part of, such great capabilities that he had. But I think fully 100%, you have to trust the coaches, especially Mike Vrabel. Maybe not the offensive coordinator because he wasn't all there. But I think that
oh yeah, I trust Mike Vrabel hands down.
The coaches, and I think he saw what he had on the offensive line, and he knew it wasn't good. So he knew as soon as, he knew there was a possibility A, that Tannehill was going to get hurt with his play. B, he knew that if Malik Willis came in and played the way he played, he was going to get hurt because the offensive line couldn't protect him. So I think that's why he was so adamant on Malik not running.
Yeah. Well,
that it would be the opposite. Like if you're standing in the pocket, you're sitting duck. And so if you don't have a good offensive line and you're told to just stay put, then to me, it would seem like you're more likely to get hurt than if you were to be able to scramble and get out of it, get away from that,
And I agree with that. But I think at the same time, he was looking at, hey, Malik is just going to be a game manager because we had Derrick Henry at the time. He didn't know, what. So I think he was thinking if he can just throw it out of bounds a couple of times, pitch it a couple of times, and let Derrick Henry take it, it'll be fine. Because at the time, he's also the reason they pushed for a third quarterback to be on the roster, because he knew at the time we didn't have a third quarterback. And he knew if Malik had have gotten hurt, it would have been OB.
Can I just say this? I feel bad for, Derrick Henry, Malik Willis, and what was that other quarterback's name? Josh Dobbs last year, because the offensive line they had in front of them was it was high school level at best. And, for Derrick Henry to go put up, what was it? Do y'all remember how many? 1,500 yards, if I'm correct? Yeah, for him to put up that amount of yards behind that offensive line, it says something about Derrick Henry. Everybody who says Derrick Henry is done, is washed, is, at the end of his career, I think they're going to have another thing coming, especially if this offensive line we got this year pans out. If those holes get opened up, Henry's going to hit it, and he's going to take it to the house. You could see it at times last year where he was seaming, and it just the offensive line would collapse, and there's just no way of getting past it. And I agree with Haley. If a quarterback, my mentality, if I'm playing the quarterback position and I hike that ball, and my offensive line isn't doing a good job to protect me, my first instinct is going to be to roll out through the back of the pocket and try and get distance between me and the defense. So A, I can either have time to go through my progressions, or B, I can scramble and at least try and pick up a few yards. So that would be my mentality. But I'm not a quarterback, and I'm also not an NFL coach. So
Let me ask you this: like, do you think that it's possible that they talked about him scrambling in the preseason because it was preseason and they really wanted to see what he could do in the pocket, and maybe they had told him like, in the preseason it's not about winning, it's not about, I mean, it's about showing what you got.
yeah,
Is it possible that it really wasn't about what the kind of quarterback they wanted him to be, but that they wanted to, one, get him out of the habit of strictly relying on scrambling, but two, to see his arm, to see it in action, to see it in real time play, and to that maybe this isn't necessarily, we're not telling you this is the quarterback we want you to be, but this is what we want to see in the preseason. We want to see more passing.
yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
I don't
See,
know.
that's what I was thinking. I know with the way Mariota was progressing and then just started going downhill. It kind of worried me when they made those comments about Malik Willis, and Vrabel kind of pulled him. But at the same time, I do agree that they were wanting to see what his arm talent was. Where are you at? What kind of passes? How are you going through your progressions? And that was the biggest thing about Malik Willis last year, was just he was not used to going through progressions.
And
You know,
I kind of want you guys' opinion on this too, because this is what bothered me. There were entire games that he was forbidden to throw a pass. Like when he started, there was entire games he could not throw a pass. Like literally, he could pass it off to Derrick Henry. Like that was it, and that worried me because it's like, okay, what are they not seeing? What are they seeing? What are they not seeing? I know some of it was the offensive line, but it's like you can't go entire games and
well,
not pass the ball.
Well, I think for people who sit there and say that they weren't allowing him to pass, that definitely be wrong. Because if you go back and you actually watch the games that he played in, there were at least 10 passes that he made that were just out of this world dead accurate. But the wide receivers would not bring those passes in. They were dropped, tipped. So I think a lot of it, I think a lot of people put the blame, and it goes back to like what Haley was saying about Tannehill. It's not solely Tannehill's fault, like you were saying too, April. But when the team does good, they praise the quarterback. But when the team does bad, they blame the quarterback.
Well,
You
and the
know,
thing is we didn't do bad in that game. It was the Houston game. We won the game. We just didn't pass.
And
but
maybe,
yeah,
I think, to me, like, I think the thing about that game was, and maybe it was like they didn't want him to get hurt. They knew they just needed to get through that game, because if I'm not mistaken, that was like one game that Tannehill came back after that.
That was right before our bye. So that was right before our bye, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking they wanted to just get to our bye, see what they could
Yeah.
assess
And so
injury wise, and
I
go
think they
back.
wanted to win the game, but they knew they didn't have to do much to win the game. It was Houston was terrible, and I think maybe they were just like, let's just let's not get hurt, let's not get crazy, like, I mean, and I don't know if they told them don't pass the ball or whatever, but like, and that may have even just been his kind of,
Crutch.
him being thrown into the wolves,
Right.
and
yeah,
that was just his reaction. That maybe he was, that was again like kind of like in the preseason, where he kept choosing to scramble instead of pass. It could have been the same kind of thing, but I think that game, he honestly just get through the game. Let's just try to win the game. We got
yep,
Derrick Henry. Let's just run it, and we know that we can run it on Houston. So let's do it.
yeah. I agree with that. I think that well, it's impossible for us to say whether or not they pulled the plug and said, all right, you're not passing, because we weren't there, so we can't really say that. But I do think that they knew that, hey, we have a young quarterback who's come out of can't. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering over my own words.
It's okay.
Who came out of a one read offense, from college, and who was thrown into the heap of things and was asked to perform, at an elite or better level,
Mhm.
at QB, and it was too soon,
I
you
mean, and there
know.
are quarterbacks that can do that, but they're very rare and far between. Um, but I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't seem to talk about, and that was the improvement of the tight end situation last year. Um,
Oh, Chig.
Chick came in with the fire, and they said that he's actually still improving this off season, and so I'm interested to see that for one, and then for two, the upgrade. Well, let's hope it's an upgrade to the offensive coordinator position. The different plays that we'll see. We're gonna see a couple of teams this year that we see over and over again, and one of the teams is the the Falcons. They took a lot of the Tennessee staff with them, and so I'm anxious to see if we change it up a little bit. And with the new offensive coordinator, if we can get different plays in there because the run pass is just not
Oh my
it.
goodness.
Well, and
Okay.
we know that Tim Kelly is more of a passing style of, like he just from what he did in Houston, so hopefully
Mhm.
we will see more of that, rather than just relying on
That's something I can't wait
Derrick
to
Run,
watch
Henry.
in
run,
the
pass, run, run,
preseason too.
pass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Run, pass.
Guess what we're gonna do this drive? Run, run, pass.
I mean, AJ Brown pretty much came out and said he called our entire game when they played the Eagles. Like he called it. He
Mhm.
knew exactly what we were doing,
Yeah.
when we were going to do it,
And boy,
what
you
we
could
were lining
tell
up to do, and
that game was embarrassing.
yeah,
Yeah, it
and
was.
the fans knew it too. Fans were like,
Mhm.
"Oh, run, pass."
That
Yeah.
that was
So
the
it'll be
game that made you
interesting to
want
see
to
if we
like.
can get it
Ugh.
changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
So you were talking about Chig. What do y'all think about what's his name? Phillips.
Kyle Phillips.
Kyle Phillips, yeah. What is y'all's opinions on Kyle Phillips?
I don't really. I mean, obviously we all were excited about him last, like in off season or in the preseason. We were all pretty excited about him. Came out, got hurt pretty early, and then we kind of didn't hear anything else about him. So, and that's a hard thing. Like when people, I mean, you have these standout players in preseason that everybody's like, oh, they're, this player's going to be so good, whatever. But preseason is it's not an accurate. Um, look at a lot of these players because you're not playing. I mean, playing in preseason and playing in a regular season game they're completely different, and
Yeah.
it's a different speed, it's a different everything. And sometimes you're playing against third string, fourth string, whatever, like practice squad, like
XFL players.
exactly. I mean, like so it's. So I mean, I was excited about him last year just to see what he'd do. We really didn't get to see any of that. So I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not excited to see. I mean, maybe this year he comes out and balls out or whatever. But I don't really know what to think, honestly.
Yeah.
I agree with Haley. It's hard to judge him because we didn't see him that much. Honestly, I had forgotten mid-season that we got Kyle Phillips, and I think you mentioned something, and I was like, "Oh yeah, him. Where is he?" But
I mean,
I know that he
he
got hurt pretty early, but it's hard. It's going to be interesting to kind of see his development from year 1 to year 2 to see if we can at least actually be able to judge his play because it's hard for us
Just-
to be able to judge what we saw.
just stay on the field, man. Just stay on the field.
That's
Yeah, so those are a couple, year 2 players. So, first of all, I'm really excited to have Landry back. Let's just talk about the possibility of having one of the best defenses, in the league this year. Because you get Landry with Simmons and then we got
the front four is going to be good for sure. I'm still worried about
yeah.
over the top.
Well, we got Sean. Correct me if I'm saying this wrong. Sean Murphy, but how do you say his name? The new safety we got.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Sean
Yeah.
Murphy, Buttery, or whatever.
Yeah, he's wearing the number 0, I believe,
Wow.
jersey now.
Hopefully,
So
it's not an indication of how his production's going to be.
No. Well, he did. He came off of a really good productive year last year. So, you pair him with KB, and I think that's going to solidify people being able to throw above our heads, or at least on the edges. We still got to worry through the middle. We got Caleb Farley. I don't think that he's going to be much of anything. And I had high hopes for Caleb Farley. I really did. Like, I was hoping and praying that he would turn out, because he was wicked fast. And if he was able to stay healthy and start being productive and progressing. I thought for sure, he was going to be that piece we needed, but it never happened. And then he tore his ACL. What was it, game 2
Yeah.
last year?
Yeah. Again.
Yeah.
I think he injured his back in week 10 against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
I
But
was there. I was there and I saw that in person, and I was like, oh no, we got another injury.
yeah. What's the one player from this year's draft that y'all are most excited to see?
To be honest with you, I couldn't name a player from this year's draft.
I mean, I think obviously, like, because of our O-line issues, I'm like interested to see how Peter, however you say his last name, how he affects the O-line and it makes it better. But I'm also like, I mean, and obviously we're talking about Tannehill, we're talking about Malik, but I think Levis is an interesting, I'm interested to see. I mean, I think to me, it looks like he's shooting towards keeping 3 quarterbacks, but Levis is interesting to me. He's
Yeah.
a player that could go absolutely either way. But I think it's interesting. He came from kind of an NFL style offense in college. Like, he was calling his own plays, which is not normal in college. So I'm excited to see what he can do and what kind of and really honestly, between the 3 of them, how they elevate each other through competition. So.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I said this to April, but Will Levis could play a young Ryan Tannehill in a Ryan Tannehill documentary.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They look so much alike. It's crazy. But yeah, so I'm actually, I agree with you on seeing Peter, and I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try because I'm terrible with name pronunciations, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But yeah, I'm really excited to see Peter get out there and play on that offensive line. Anything's going to be better than what we had last year.
Anything.
I'm really curious and excited to see Tajay Spears play,
Yeah.
because that's going to be another receiving threat on the field, and I think we'll see a lot more of the Wildcat formation, 2 running backs and a quarterback on the field. Because if you have the option of Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears, then the defense ain't really going to be able to figure it out. Are they going to run it? Or are they going to try and pass it? Because those are 2 really liable threats. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for this year.
There's a character that hasn't shown up this year that's had a lot of talk last year, and that was Burks' asthma. And it's so crazy how they just stopped talking about it and it went away. I think that's awesome. And I knew that's what it was going to be. It's like, okay, we'll just stop talking about it and he's going to be fine. I have a kid with asthma. It just happens. Like, the fact that they had made it such a huge deal when he first started, it's like, calm down. We're in the middle of July in Tennessee, where it's 100 degrees on a daily basis.
I mean, I do get the concern. I mean, you come into training camp, you spent draft pick on somebody, and they come into training camp and they can't function.
Finish the
'cause
first
really
practice.
the weather's not going to be much better opening day than it was in July. So I understand the concern, but I do think it's one of those things where it was blown out of proportion. Where hey, like maybe it was worse than he expected, or it was exacerbated because you go to different areas and there's different
Right.
allergens, there's different things that affect that. And it probably just was a matter of correcting his medicine, or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
it's not
definitely
that
think
big
it
of a
was
deal, but
blown. I think it was definitely blown out of proportion. It would have been like if people had been like, "Oh, something to watch," or something to watch for. That would have been different than just like focusing everything
oh,
on
just
it. Like
like
I had an eye on it. I was like, I'll keep an eye
yeah,
on it, but I don't think that's who he is. And so automatically everybody
yeah,
put Phillips above Burks because they're like, "Oh, Burks can't even make it through training camp." And then when we got to the season, look what happened.
yeah.
yeah. Well, and I can vouch for this because our sister, mine and April's sister, lives in Arkansas, and I went down there and stayed for about a year, and the transitioning. I mean, it is a completely different atmosphere. It's a lot more humid, a lot more stickier. There's less pollen in the air, but you coming from Tennessee, it took a lot of adapting to get used to it. And then when I transitioned back to Tennessee, there was a period of time to where, you physically have to readapt to everything up here in Tennessee. So, I do understand that. And I do think that that's a legit thing. But I do know that they really tried to focus on that during the off season. And so far, he's looking good. I mean, he's finished all of his practices, knock on wood,
Well, I mean, he didn't have any issues after
after that one
whatever.
I
time.
think it
Yeah.
just took him time to adjust.
Yeah, and probably, and like I said, probably maybe changing some certain things,
Yeah.
Um,
Rituals,
but
habits.
yeah,
Um, and the thing he just gotten off a plane and hadn't played in a while, and so he had to get back readapted to it.
Okay. So, I know Bryce has been super excited about this. So we know, I think it's what, July 23rd. So,
Yeah.
no, for the jersey reveal.
Oh yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
So, do y'all want to take a guess on what game we will be playing in the Oilers uniform?
Houston.
I mean, it sounds like we're going to wear them in two games, one away game and one home game.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
And both of them
Yeah.
be Houston.
so I don't know. I mean, I think obviously it would like make sense for them to go to Houston, but I don't know. I would say
That
I'm
would be
wondering if
so
we're
funny.
more likely to wear them in Houston or play Houston, and then maybe against another team another day. But
What if we wore it in our London game?
I
that could
think
be
it's
cool.
Yeah.
it's gonna be the Houston Texans game anyways because Warren Moon already said it would be
Mhm.
against Houston.
But
I mean-
they're going to wear it in two games, Bryce. So it's interesting. That's interesting, Gary, about wearing it in London. I think that would be actually pretty cool.
Yeah, because if
No.
I'm correct, wouldn't that be considered one of our
home
home
game.
games? Yeah, and then we go down into Houston and we're in our away game.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, what better way to just rub salt in the wound of Houston after J.J. Watt tried to wear Oilers gear?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't just J.J. Watt. It was what was the quarterback that shall not be named? He
Deshaun.
was the quarterback for them at the time, and he did a whole press conference and like really just was boisterous and excited that he had a Houston jersey. And we're like, bro, thanks for being a fan.
Well, I mean, they said on the podcast, is that they thought they had every right to wear the Oilers throwback because they were the Texans team from that area. But, Amy Adam threatened a lawsuit on them because she's like, no, that's our team. We moved to Tennessee. It's not, y'all are a completely different organization. So, I mean, what better way to just add end that chapter than to say, hey, here you go, here's your throwback uniforms, y'all want it?
It'd be even better if we won.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
definitely. But yeah, so that's something I'm really really excited to see, and I believe Bryce told us that was going to be on the 23rd. So it's not too much longer, and we'll figure it out.
Bryson, is something that you want to talk about, you're pretty excited about too, is, and it looks like you've done your research because it's my favorite thing to do, which is record predictions, even though it's really early. And it's fine if I'm wrong. I get it. I mean, because we're not even into what training camp yet. But I like to look at the schedule and kind of just guess at and see the games that we're gonna win. Bryce, do you have any predictions yet?
Um, I don't have any bold predictions yet, but I do have a record prediction.
Go ahead.
I think I think maybe if we get DeAndre Hopkins, maybe 10 to 11 games. If that, if we don't get DeAndre Hopkins, it will be 8 to 7 games.
So it's still a little early for me to kind of throw out my record prediction, but I will go out on a limb and do a bold prediction here, and y'all all can like slap me if I'm wrong. But I'm calling for Derrick Henry, the King, to be the first running back to ever rush for 2,000 rushing yards. I think that he's going to come back with vengeance. I think that the offensive line is going to be much improved over
I don't think
last
that's
year.
a very bold prediction. I think we all could see that. So you
Well,
need something else. No, I'm just
well, that's I mean, a lot of people's been calling for Henry's head.
I think
At least
Or at least saying that he was gonna start to decline this year or
yeah.
whatever.
Well, and I don't think a lot of people are necessarily calling for his head. I think it goes back to it being a business. And before he signed, the best thing that you could have done, based on his production, is to trade him and get the highest thing you could for him in a draft pick. However, this draft wasn't worth that, and
no,
I
no.
see that, and I was like, it
You
would have been
cannot
good, and it would have been a good business move had this draft had something in it worth getting, but it didn't. This draft was
you
not.
I think
cannot trade your most valuable piece right now. He is the most valuable piece we have on offense right now.
Oh
And
no,
then
he's
it's
definitely the
Tannehill.
most. It's definitely the most valuable
Let
piece,
him
but
be.
that's why he would have been the highest kind of like big trading point at that time. Like
Yeah.
we could have gotten the most for him, but this draft just wasn't worth it.
I think it only makes sense if we were truly in a rebuild. Like, a lot of people
Yeah.
say we're in
Yeah.
a rebuild. I do not believe for one second that we are in a rebuild.
No.
Because
so,
if we were in a rebuild, it would make zero sense to keep Tannehill, especially with his, how much we're paying him. If we're in a rebuild, you save that money, get some other pieces,
yes.
whatever. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense to keep Tannehill. It doesn't make any sense to keep Henry if you were in a rebuild. So those two factors right there tell me we are not in a rebuild.
We're not gonna rebuild.
But that's what
no.
everybody says. Everybody
Yeah.
says we're
The-
in this rebuild, and that's why we're going to be.
They
that's
don't
why we're
understand the
gonna crash or
business
whatever.
of it.
So Adam said in the comment, he said, with Hopkins, the King gets 2,000 yards. Without Hopkins, he gets 1,999.
I think,
uh,
and I heard Bryce say this, and I don't totally disagree with Bryce, but I'm gonna not put so much on DeAndre, because here's the thing: we may not get DeAndre. I mean, we're in the running for him. Yeah, cool. I'm not gonna be heartbroken if we don't get DeAndre, because of the production from Chig Burks. We don't know what Phillips is gonna do yet. We have Tajay coming out of the backfield, so I'm not worried. If we do get DeAndre, is it a good distraction? Yes, but probably that's all it's going to be. Probably more like a Julio situation. He's going to be on the field. We could target him. The defenses will have to adjust to that, get more yards for Henry, get more yards for one of the other receivers. Am I going to put all the merit into the season's going to be great if we have DeAndre? No, because it'll help. But I think with the other pieces that we have as far as receivers and tight ends go, it's not really going to make that big of a difference. But I do agree with Bryce's prediction. I say we win 10-11, and I was just looking over the schedule before we started.
I think I disagree about the Hopkins thing. I think that, and I know we don't have a history of doing well with these older receivers, whatever, that we bring in. But I think there's something different about Hopkins. I think he can still perform on a high level. I think the biggest thing is that our all around, all receivers, whether tight ends, receivers, even in the running back, except for, Henry, I mean, we have a very, 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 like, rookie young team. I think bringing someone in like DeAndre Hopkins, you add you add a veteran presence that is only going to elevate Burks and, Phillips or whoever,
Yeah.
Westbrook Akina, whatever. Like he's gonna elevate them
Do we
because
still have him?
when you
We do.
when you compete against the best, you just, or when you play next to good people, you get.
Yeah.
I think it was a little different with Julio because we had AJ Brown.
Yeah.
I do think having Julio made AJ Brown better. Because that was his idol, so having him next to him, I mean, that made him play on a different level, even though Julio himself did not do that much here. I think that I talk a lot about this, but there's a lot of intangibles in football, things that you can't, like, yeah, maybe Julio didn't do a lot on the field, but did he change the team? Yeah, I think he made AJ better. He made defenses, have to look at him. I mean, there's so many, he can change the locker room, and a lot of players are like that. Now, there also could be negative. I mean, there's a reason Hopkins hasn't played. There could be a negative side to it in the locker room or whatever. But I think, I do think that he could. I still think he could be very productive, and maybe he's the one that breaks kind of that cycle that we have of getting these players and they don't do. Maybe this is just. But I think he's going to elevate the people around him because they're lacking a veteran presence right now.
So I definitely agree with you 100% on that, Haley. Like if you look at Julio Jones, when we got Julio Jones, like you can clearly tell Julio was on kind of that downward slope of his career. You look at DeAndre Hopkins and, he didn't have the numbers that he normally did, but that's because he didn't play a full year last year, but he still had better numbers than every single one of our receiving targets from last year put together.
We didn't have any.
So,
Have any.
and to go back to what you were talking about, I think that one of the few people that we traded for or signed, that actually panned out for us was Delaney Walker,
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and so the Titans are definitely due. We definitely have a habit of going bad, good, bad, good. So I definitely see DeAndre Hopkins being able to come in here and make a difference. My only concern with the whole D-Hop thing is, what are they going to give for him, and what will that cost us later down the line? Because ultimately it was the Julio Jones deal that cost us AJ Brown. It was that contract, and then AJ Brown wanting, to be paid what he was worth. And let me tell you, AJ Brown was definitely worth what he was asking for, but J-Rob at the time felt like he wasn't, and couldn't really figure out that whole contract thing because of what he was having to pay out for Julio Jones, who was no longer a part of the Tennessee Titans organization at that time. So my big concern is what are they going to be willing to give, and what could it possibly cost us later down in the line? Outside of that, D-Hop is going to be somebody who, I feel like will come in here, and especially because he's reuniting with a lot of his former coaches, Tim Kelly, and that was when D-Hop was playing at the top of his game. Now, if we had Doofus as offensive coordinator, still it'd be a different story. But we got Tim Kelly now, so I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna give Tim Kelly all the opportunity. You know, you have what 17 games to prove me wrong, but I think Tim Kelly is going to be a night and day difference than what we had
Yeah.
over Todd Downing. And you know, if we throw D Hop in the mix with all of the other talent that we have, Chig, Phillips, Tajay,
Forbes.
yeah. I mean, all of them. You know, it's only going to benefit the Titans in the long run. You know,
If they
because
can
if
get
some,
the offensive line to come together. Yes.
yeah,
I actually saw the offer out for D Hop. The Titans do have an offer out for
yes. So it was
just don't know
released
what
was it yesterday or the day before yesterday?
I think
I've heard it's the best offer he's received too, and
It is.
it's not a horrible offer, but it also doesn't hurt the Titans.
And to be honest, I'm not really concerned about what it is like as far as the future, because we have a lot of this mess that J Rob put us in
Created,
kind of
yeah.
falls off after this year. So
Yeah.
next season we are in a much better place as far as cap space. I personally believe that this is probably Tannehill's last year with the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may not be. I personally believe this is Henry's last year with the Titans.
Haley, I agree with that 100%, and I actually said that last year. Definitely believe this is Tanny Hill's last year. I could see them gearing up for that when they drafted Will Levis, and then when they did not extend Derrick Henry's contract, but they went ahead and paid him, you know, his money. I was like, yeah, it's getting that time.
I mean, you
Yeah.
never know, and a lot of
It's
that
a-
could
it's a
depend on
business,
what happens this year. But I mean, you're getting rid of two big contracts there. Plus, you have, I think it's something like $100 million in cap space next year. So if they believe that they can go on a run this year, if they can just, you know, if they're not truly in real rebuild, which I don't even think that they would have hired Rand Carthon if he didn't kind of make a case that, hey, we could still go on a run this year. And I think DeAndre is a piece that can make that happen. If you throw not everything at him, but obviously we have some. You only have so much cap space to work with this year, but you know, in the future, like, you know.
So I'd like to kind of throw this out there. This was shared to me by a buddy of ours from the 615 podcast, Lee Hills. He sent me a article, and it was probably about a week before the draft. But apparently somebody from inside the Titans organization told the Tighten Up Network that the Tennessee Titans were planning on extending Derrick Henry's contract during the middle of the season this year, pending how he plays. So my thing is it could go two ways. Like if Derrick Henry gets out here and balls out like he has for the past 3 to 4 years, and he even comes remotely close to 2,000 yards or hits 2,000 yards, let that man retire a Titan. You know, there's not a lot of Titan players who we drafted and they ended up getting to retire a Titan. But if he gets out here and you can tell, okay, this is not Derrick Henry of the last 3 to 4 years, then yeah, you know, get out while the get out is good, you know, because there's going to be a team out there who's going to see value and a benefit in Henry, and they're going to be willing to give up something good for him because Henry is just, let's just face it, he is a future Hall of Famer now, you know. He's one of 7 or 8 running backs to ever rush for 2,000 yards. He's one 200-yard game away from tying Adrian Peterson and
Jim
Eric.
Brown.
Yeah, for the most 200-yard games in a career. So, you know,
Jim Brown. I mean, Jim Brown. Jim Brown was like Derrick Henry, but Jim Brown is just not Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
that was a good running back too. Let me tell you. Now you're talking some names.
Yeah. The problem is this is the last year of Henry's contract. So if they don't,
Mhm.
if they, if he plays through the season, we can't trade him away. We can't get any value out of him if we either sign him or we let him go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
there is a thought that, like, okay, so let's say we're keeping these core players because we believe we can go on a run. Let's say we get halfway through the season and we're like, yeah, it's not, we're 2-7, we're whatever, we're not. It's obvious that that's not going to happen. I think that there's a thought that you could at that point, and maybe why they're waiting to address his contract until mid-season, because this season really could go either way. So, like, let's say you get to mid-season and he's it's obviously we're not going on a run. You could trade him mid-season and get something for him, because mid-season he may have more value because there may be other teams that are going on a run that have injuries or I mean, things change once people. Right now the needs are different. Mid-season you got people that are a little bit more urgent with their needs, and so I think maybe that's a piece too, because I've also heard that Henry might kind of be done in Tennessee, like as far as him, like, because it's not just about what we want, it's about what he wants.
About what he wants, yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different factors to it, and that's why I say I mean, unless something crazy happens this year, like we go win a Super Bowl, maybe he'll want to stay. He goes and balls, he has some crazy year, he wants to stay, whatever. But I think that they're waiting to even address his contract until they kind of see how the season goes. So
Yeah, and I think that's always going to be a thorn in the Titans' side, because players like Derrick Henry that are going to be, Hall of Fame bound, they're going to want to win a ring that's going to, solidify them being in the Hall
and he
of Fame.
deserves one.
And he deserves a ring. And
Yeah.
so he's, and he's probably smart with his agent, this year too. I'm like, hey, we're just gonna wait it out and kind of see if we think that we're gonna be able to win a ring with this team or not. I think he'll always have love for Tennessee. I don't think it'll ever be one of the AJ situations where he'll leave and just down us. But I think that he'll leave for his own good, and he should.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's going to be up to Henry, whether or not he stays or goes. But I feel like if we have a good season, I feel like there's a good chance that if what this report is saying is true, because I don't know who their inside person is over there, but if that's true, then I think that would be something that a lot of Titans fans would feel happy about. Another thing about Henry, I have to agree with Adam in the comment. Henry is built different than any other running back that we've ever seen. Period. There's not a lot of running backs out there who, I mean, even come close to the type of play style that Henry is. And I think honestly that, that whole, like he said, that whole 30-year-old stigma for running backs hitting the wall and just declining, it might not apply to Henry, because Henry is just built different than your average running backs. He's I think that he is a old school player, and if you go back and you look at those old school players, they played legitimately from start to finish of their career. Jim Brown didn't decline until his last year, and I'm not even sure when he retired, but I know it was after he was 30. You look at Walter Payton. Walter Payton played up there in a high age, and Walter, he's one of the greatest running backs of all time, and in my
And look
opinion.
at Frank Gore.
Oh
Gore
yeah,
played
Frank
forever.
Gore, that man. Oh my gosh, I used to get mad every time we'd play him because it's just like, dang, dude, like,
Me too. I was like, are you ever gonna just like run out of steam? Like, are you ever just stop?
right?
Like,
Because he used to bully us.
he
I mean,
did.
oh gosh.
But we've put a lot of talk tonight into the players and stuff. But the Titans have made a lot of off-season changes that were staff related that I think are going to help as well. We've hired 2 women to be, you know, coordinators, and we've also hired them to be analysts of the game. And I think an analyst of the game is a very important position because you have to look at other teams, how they're playing, their personnel, and to figure out, the best personnel and way to play them too. And so, we've changed up our trainers. We've changed up, things like that. So I think that there's going to be a lot to go into this season. We've talked a lot about the players, but I think it's more than just that. And the changes that they've made behind the scenes.
Adam said Frank Gore played till he was 57. He might still be playing.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. For that, he's playing for the no-name team, guys.
Put me in, coach.
Chester Cheetos.
Hey guys, I gotta go take care of my kids. Been very patient. They're not normally this patient, are they, Bryce?
Oh, good. Mine too, actually. I'm
No.
surprised.
Bryce,
Yeah,
normally Taylor's crawling all over me, isn't she? But they've been
I
very
think you
patient.
had a
so
couple
I'm
of
gonna go.
announcements to make, and we can do that. And Haley, thank you for being with us today. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Haley. It was
Nice
awesome.
talking to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It was awesome
It's
talking
great
with
to
you.
hear your
And
perspective. Of
Yeah.
course.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Bryce,
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
bye. Oh man.
So Gary, what do you think about the transition from Todd Downing to Tim Kelly?
I'm fired up, man. Get Todd Downing. I don't ever want to talk about that Joker. Almost said something I shouldn't have said, but
We don't talk about that. Who's Todd Downing?
forgive
Who
me,
is that?
God. Forgive me,
Who is-
God.
Who's Todd Downing?
Todd
I don't even know who that
who?
is.
No, yeah. I think it's gonna be good. I think Tim Kelly, I think he has a lot of experience in what he's doing as an offensive coordinator. I definitely, if you go back and watch this time in Houston, that offense was wicked. I mean, D Hop and Crazy Deshaun, they had a wicked offense in their passing game. That's what I'm really excited about because we got to turn the corner in what we're doing. We have to go from being a run first team into being a multiple option team, not ditching the run completely and just solely saying we're going to be a pass first team, but being able to be versatile in both the passing game and the running game. And when you do that, that's when you're able to throw defensive off balance left and right, and that's what we want.
So Gary, I want to say this. So we're not supposed to do one thing. We're supposed to do 2 things at once on the field: throw the ball and run the football
Mm-hmm.
effectively.
Yeah, and I think that with Tim Kelly, we're going to see a lot more creative run plays than we did with crazy Downing. Run pass, but his running game was so predictable. It was like you went back in the early 60s, or I'd say early 70s, and you just copied their playbook. But I think you're going to have a lot more creative run plays, and then you're going to have a lot more creative pass plays as well.
Gary, excuse me for just a second, please.
Yep.
So when it was like 4th and 1, I'm like, why did you not quarterback sneak?
Oh man. Yeah, Downing was crazy. What was it he did? He kept last year that big. It was
Nothing.
the
There was
it was the
nothing.
screenplay. He kept doing that stupid screenplay that kept getting blown up in the backfield every single time.
You got
I
a
got
quarterback
so mad about that.
that sneak it. And, I mean, Tannehill, you can switch the play at the line if you don't like it.
Yeah, Tannehill, and that's what I was talking with Haley about earlier in April, is that Tannehill's legs are underused, in my opinion. Now that doesn't mean, like Haley said, it doesn't mean that they're not using Tannehill to his fullest potential or not.
Um,
But I feel like we need to trust Tannehill's legs a lot more than what we do.
um, that's Gary. So, um, I think that Tannehill can use his legs a little bit more if he has the right offensive line pieces out there that can actually keep him upright. And the fact that we didn't have anybody for these past 2 years, I mean, you you gotta look at it. It's not easy to stay upright at the quarterback position.
No,
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
nowadays. Well, I mean,
I agree with Bryce. Asking Tannehill to use his legs more in the offense that we have is like asking Derrick Henry to throw the ball more. Throw the ball more. Do
that
we
might
want
not be
Derrick
a bad
Henry?
thing.
Do we want Derrick Henry to throw the ball every pass? No, we do not.
I
Every
mean, I'm just
ever.
saying that might not be a. They
But
call
is
he
it an
calls himself the
option?
young sheriff.
Right. Is it an option? Yes. Yes, it's an option. But I think the amount that they're utilizing him in the offensive line that we had, I can't speak for this year, is probably best because we've seen what happened regardless of him using his legs.
Yeah, Abel, I really like that. I really like the screenplay that King Henry does on.
Yeah.
He did one in the playoffs against the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was his birthday too, guys.
That
But
was
yeah, if I'm correct, Derrick Henry has a better passer rating than Tannehill did that year because he didn't miss no passes.
I agree.
uh, But yeah, no, we got to use Tannehill's legs, and it starts with that offensive line. If we have a good offensive line, let Tannehill do more quarterback sneaks because, I mean, he is tall, he is lengthy, he's able to snake his way through and fall forward for a first down. And same thing goes for Henry. I mean, we had a couple 4th-and-1s last year where they did those screenplays to Chig or whoever it was. It wasn't Chig, it was the other tight end we had. But, and it kept getting blown up in the backfield when you give the ball to Henry and let the man just trip forward. Trip forward. You're 4th-and-1. He's going to get you 1 yard just by falling forward. You know?
I mean, it's like Gary. Some of those audible plays that Todd. I mean,
Oh, it was trash, man.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna miss, but I'm not gonna miss, and it's bittersweet. And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna kind of miss hearing holding number 77.
No, don't say that yet because we have another 77 now. So it might not be bittersweet. You might still hear it, especially since he's a rookie. But yeah, I'm gonna miss Lawan being out there for sure. He was a character, man.
He fired everybody up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bittersweet because he was kind of past his prime. He knows he was past his prime. But we loved Taylor.
I really like Taylor Lewan, but here's the thing: he was never able to stay on the field.
Yeah. That was an issue. That was an issue. That's
was
why it's
definitely an
bittersweet.
issue.
It's bittersweet.
So guys, with that being said, before we get into our announcements that we had, what is going to be the one thing that you're most excited for this season? The one thing you're most excited for this season?
I'm excited for Jeffrey Simmons.
Yes. Our
Big
defense is something
Jeff.
to be excited about, like in
Yes.
general. I definitely believe that.
So
Um,
I'm really excited for our London game. You know, I'm
Really?
yeah.
Oh,
I
to me,
oh
that's like the worst
I'm
game. I'm
really,
like, why? Why are
because
we
I
wasting
well
space to play on Monday?
yeah,
well
Gary,
you know
I'm,
I think we got to get used to it because they're starting a division. The NFL is trying to start a division overseas, so it's going to be a division made up of 4 teams, and of course, you know, it'll be just like the AFC South or something like that, you know. But they'll be thrown into the mix with our team over here, so that's going to be very interesting. And I like the idea of it because you know you're gonna get to see more people from around the world playing, and you know that's the one thing I love about football is football is a unification sport. It brings people from every race and denomination together. You
yeah,
know, from every you know, and that's
Gary,
what we need, especially in these
uh,
days and times that we're living in. You know, we
You,
need that unification.
one of the things that I'm really excited about, it's not even a Titan thing. Jabbar Hamlin's going to be taking the field during preseason, and I am excited for him to get back on the field.
I'm excited for Damar Hamlin to get back on the field. I mean, you know, he had so many people praying for him after that concussion he got, and you know, being put in it. Wasn't he put? Yeah, in a coma, right?
Yeah, well,
that,
it was a
that
cardiac
was,
arrest.
Cardiac arrest, yeah. But you know, I'm really excited to see him, you know, be able to take the field again because that's something serious. You know, we could have lost somebody, you know. So it was just awesome to see the outpouring of support that he received from you know every NFL team. You know, not even I mean, you got people who weren't even fans of football, you know, who heard about that and was reaching out to him on Twitter, and you know, you know that goes to show you that the sport of football is bigger than anything we could imagine. And you know, it also goes to show that there are still people out there who care, you know. And I think that for a time and place where we were you know, just coming off of COVID and you
what,
know just all that stuff, that was something that you know the world needed to see, was people coming together and saying,
that
taking the
skip,
time out to say, hey, let's lift this man up in prayer. Let's, you know, we're here. We love you. We
Gary,
support you.
excuse me for just a second.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
So what did you think about that Skip tweet? That Skip tweet that he made about
So
Lamar Hamilton.
I agree 100% with Shannon Sharp.
I
You know,
thought,
because Shannon Sharp didn't come on the show the next day. He waited till the day after, and you know it was because he didn't want to take the focus off of Damar. He wanted the focus to be on Damar, and you know I personally believe that Skip should have removed that tweet. That was a you know heartless thing to say. Is that, hey, you know, y'all should have finished that game. The NFL should be shamed for not, you know, whatever it was that he said. You know, it just it wasn't right. It wasn't being sensitive to what was going on the field. You know, a football team, you know, you're like brothers. You're like family. You know, you spend so much time together, and you're on the field, and next thing you know, your brother collapsed and wasn't breathing and got resuscitated right in front of your eyes. Playing football is the last thing on their mind. And I think to sit there and, you know, to try and say that they should have been forced to finish that game, it wasn't the right thing to say or do.
it was
Um,
stupid.
it was.
I think it was irresponsible. I think that he was looking at things from a business point of view, instead of the player's point of view. From a business point of view, I understand what he was saying. From a player's point of view, and immediately I switched my view to a mother's point of view. Like looking at it, you're at that point. If you're Damar Hamlin's mother, you're helpless, and so I think that he should have kept his remarks to himself until he could better explain what he meant.
I'll say this: I'm glad that Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the NFL, not Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the Bengals wide receiver even stayed there for 2 days with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that goes, like what I was saying earlier, it shows the heart that people still have, and I think, like I said, in a time that, we're living in, that was much needed, stuff happens and sometimes we can't explain why they happen or anything like that, but at the end of the day it showed the world something that the world needed to see, which was unification.
Hey,
People.
Gary,
Yeah.
um, I think that Skip tweet was stupid. I think he should have deleted it right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He
it
should
shouldn't
have
have
never
even
wrote
stayed
it.
up.
He should have never wrote it.
Y'all think that what do y'all think about Shannon Sharp leaving the Undisputed show?
I think
I
he
thi-
did what was best for him.
I agree. What about you, Bryce? What do you think about Shannon leaving?
I think I didn't even actually know that he left.
Yeah, so he left. I'm gonna say what 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, he put in
Yeah,
his last little video.
he allowed his contract to get bought out. So I know Skip Bayless is currently looking to find somebody to take his place. But rumors have it, and I can't say for sure because I'm not in that position to. But rumors have it that Skip is struggling trying to find somebody to take Shannon's spot because of the way that he treated Shannon. Excuse me. You know, there's videos you can go on YouTube and look it up, but there's one time where Shannon was putting down Tom Brady, and Skip went off on him and told him that who are you? Just because you are a NFL player, you're not no Tom Brady. And I mean, just putting him down. Yet Shannon had one of the best careers as a tight end, in football history. And I think
team
that
did he play for?
he played for Green Bay. He played for Green Bay for a while. I'm not sure if I think he played for Green Bay and then also
Dallas.
no, he didn't play for Dallas because he despised Dallas. But he did play for another team. Hey, if you give me a second, I'll look it up. If y'all want to talk about something real quick.
Um, do you guys want to go have an announcement?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I'm definitely looking forward to being on with you guys on your show too. And so Gary, do you want to announce whenever you're gonna do your podcast again?
So our season 2 will be coming the beginning of August, and sometime Gary's still working out some studio space, so we're not going to give it an actual date. But our season 2 is coming at the beginning of August, just in time for the preseason. And then, did you have something, Bryce?
Okay, I got it. So he actually, I was wrong. He didn't play for Green Bay. He played for Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Just to clarify for us, sorry. That was driving me nuts. Yeah,
So
so real quick before we get to that, yeah, we are launching What's Shaking Titans once again for season 2. We're looking at August 5th, which is a Saturday, as our premiere episode for season 2 of What's Shaking Titans. We're having, of course, we're working on moving into a house where I can actually set up my studio properly again. Hopefully that plays out. If it don't, then we're definitely sticking with August 5th. And I do believe that our buddy Bryce has another announcement as well.
um, you you guys are new. You guys are a new member of the show now.
Woo! Yay, us! We're honored, Bryce.
Yep.
So we'll be co-hosts with Bryce, and then Bryce will come and co-host our show as well. And we will have in work a channel um, that we will probably be talking more about later. I'm also going to launch a women's podcast channel, and I'm excited about that. Well, it'll be a show onto the channel for What's Talking Titans Women, just so
What's
that
shaking?
what's shaking Titans Women, so we can have a women's platform where we can also go on and kind of have our opinions as well.
Um, I'll,
And to
def-
kind of go ahead, Bryce.
I'll definitely watch. I loved the ladies of Titans Twitter, women in sports.
Yes, and to kind of go back to our beginnings, when me and April first started What's Shaking Titans, it was called Twin Titans, and it stayed like that for roughly about a month, and we were only a audio podcast at the time. But we kept pushing each other, and we have a semi TV show is what it kind of looks like when you watch our podcast. And our goal with that is just to get out there, get connected with the fans, to give the fans a voice. So definitely, Saturday, August 5th, come out there, join us on What's Shaking Titans. We're really excited to get that back out there. And then, I've been banging my sister's head, like begging her to start a women's only podcast. I told her that, she definitely has the talent for it. It was something I seen from the very start, so I think her finally seeing that she can do that is an awesome step forward for her. So I'm really excited for the future that we're heading down. And the goal with everything is to eventually start our own network of different podcasts. So, we're going to have multiple podcasts. It's not just going to be the What's Shaking Titans podcast. It's not just going to be the women's only, but it's going to be a variety of podcasts, and it's going to be a tight knit group of people who are like family. We're all here to lift each other up and to help each other, move forward. And so that's the goal behind all this, is to just keep pushing everybody forward,
Yeah.
to help lift each other up, to help grow together, because at the end of the day, we're all family here. We're all trying to help each other out. And, I'm really excited for the direction that we're going. I'm really excited to be joining Bryce's podcast.
Yay!
I'm really excited. Definitely stay tuned, not only to What's Shaking Titans, but definitely stay tuned to Bryce's podcast, because there's going to be a lot of great content coming up in the near future.
You're
So,
gonna see us all a lot on each other's stuff, and
yeah.
I'm just so excited that Bryce gave us the platform and the opportunity, and I'm excited to my brother and Bryce both for giving me the platform and opportunity in order to get started with the women's podcast. So it's all going to be great and coming. So just reach out to me also, women, if you would like to
Do you
get
want to
started
tell
on
them
that.
what platform to reach out to you on and what
So
you're?
I am on Instagram at April Cherie Bailey. I'm on Facebook at April Bailey. We are on Twitter at What's Shaken Titans. We're also on Instagram at What's Shaken Titans, and we're on Facebook at What's Shaken Titans as well.
So our Twitter is at What's Gary.
At
And
What's Gary. Okay.
yes, and our podcast is on every platform. It's on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. We are on just about every platform. We do have an Instagram, even though I really don't know how to work Instagram. But I have all the other platforms figured
I
out. So
can actually show you how to use Instagram.
yeah,
That'd
definitely.
be great, Bryce.
Definitely.
We're a little
But yeah,
old.
so if you can't find her personal page, definitely look up What's Shaken Titans on any of those platforms. Feel free to reach out if you're interested. If you're a lady and you have a passion for the Titans and you think podcasting is a calling of yours, definitely reach out to her and she will be in touch with you, and we'll get that rolling. I'm really excited to be bringing my nephew Noah back into the mix of everything. He's very knowledgeable. He loves the Titans, very passionate. So I'm really excited to bring him back. And like I said, the direction of forward that we're going, the paths that we've decided on, the vision that we have for our podcast, and the things that we want to do with the direction that we're going. It's just going to be awesome. We're looking to entertain, to have fun, to get laughs and giggles. We're looking to hear from all of y'all. So definitely, get on there, comment. We'll read your comment out live. And there might even be chances for some of our fans to actually come on the show and join us. So definitely,
We
be
definitely love
commenting.
hearing from you guys. Yeah.
Gary,
Yes.
I'm gonna be a part of your show as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
of
definitely.
course.
Yes, you are, Bryce. So Bryce will definitely be a part of our show as well. So of course, I was talking about us starting a network of podcasts, and it's going to be called Twin Titans Network. And we started our podcast, the What's Shaking podcast, as Twin Titans with Gary and April. And then we changed it to What's Shaking Titans for, more of a, it made it,
Relatable.
yeah, more relatable. It was more catchy. Well, we decided to take the Twin Titans and put it into a network. So we're keeping that name. We're going to make it into a network. Regardless, I jinxed myself because shortly after starting the podcast,
He had twins.
I had twins. So yeah, so the whole idea with Bryce is, of course, because like I said, I have twins now. So there's going to be a lot of episodes where, I'm not going to be able to be the main host on it. So I'm going to have to step back and then allow somebody to kind of fill those shoes in for me. And, my brother Bryce here, he's already said that, he's willing to do that. So I'm really excited for him to get together with April and Noah on the What's Shaking Titans podcast, and, to just talk stuff out and,
I can't wait. He
put out a
agrees with me
great
a lot
show.
more.
Yeah. Yeah. But so it's gonna be an awesome experience. What I can guarantee all the fans out there is you will be entertained. We will have, ideas and plans to take the podcast to a whole new level. Unlike it was during season 4, or sorry, season 1. Woo, I jumped way ahead. So season 2 is going to be, it's going to be more impactful. It's going to be more passionate. It's going to be more fun. We're going to have more guests on. I know we really didn't get around to having a lot of guests on during season 1. but
I can actually, excuse me, buddy. I can actually help you. I can actually help you guys with a bunch of guests.
yeah, and so so that's our plan. We're gonna get with Bryce's help, we're gonna have a lot of guests on. We're definitely gonna push the podcast forward and in a new direction. There is one major change though. If anybody is watching and y'all used to tune into the What's Shaking Titans podcast, we will no longer be a Monday through Friday podcast. We will probably be once or twice a month podcast. And if things pan out, we might still do live game day coverage where we're covering the game. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but I do know that we had a lot of fans who really loved the live game day coverage that we did. So, if that might still be a possibility, it's just we have to sit down and really kind of figure out, schedules and what will work and what won't work. If any of y'all have kids, y'all definitely understand that having twins throws a monkey wrench in everybody's plan. Definitely, be tuning in August 5th, because we have something big planned. We're really excited for this. We're going to have a special guest on, and most likely it's going to be our buddy Bryce.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're really excited for it. So tune in August 5th to What's Shaking Titans. We'll be live solely on YouTube, but the video will be posted later on Facebook and Spotify. April, is there anything else you wanna say? Well, I'm
No,
ranting
just
on here.
again, just thank you guys so much for the opportunity and the platform. And I can't wait. This is going to be a great season. After everything that went down and happened, we were unsure if we were going to get to do another season, and we just kept persevering. And this is what we definitely want to do. So we're excited to bring you guys another season, and just stay with us, guys. Stay with us. We're going to grow it.
Thank you for being a part of the show tonight.
Of course.
Of course, buddy.
We look forward to being a part of the show more often. We're excited to be your co-hosts.
Yeah, definitely excited. Like I said, the direction forward we all got planned is going to be awesome. But we're really excited just for the growth. For both channels, both your channel and our channel, and we're excited to bring a new dimension.
I can actually share your channel out right now if I wanted to
Yeah,
get you some more numbers.
that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely check us out on Twitter. We get on Twitter. It's been a while since we've really been actively daily on Twitter, but we are still on Twitter. We share tweets. We sit there and we'll put up polls, and we'll reveal those poll numbers live on episodes. So hit us up on Twitter. Check us out. Check us out daily, because you never know when a poll might be popped up, and that could be your chance of winning a guest spot on the podcast. Who knows?
Yeah, Gary. Definitely. If you guys haven't followed these people yet, please do.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Bryce. We really appreciate it, brother.
Okay, well, everyone have a great rest of your night. Like Haley, my kids have been very patient, but I have to get to them. And thank you so much again, Bryce, for having us. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Bye,
All
guys.
right, love you, sis.
Love y'all.
Love you.
But yeah, Bryce, like my sister said, man, I'm really excited for the direction forward. I'm really excited to be a part of your channel and for you to be a part of our channel. Man, like I'm really excited for this season. To be talking Titans. Man, the direction and everything that we have planned is going to be awesome. The
I'm super thrilled about that.
Yes, yes. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to start screaming tighten up at my TV again. But
I
buddy,
can't
go ahead.
I can't wait for I can't wait for what's next for the channel and stuff. I do have a lot of big guests coming on the channel too.
Oh yeah? Who's your next guest?
Um, I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to reach out to. Do you have a connection with any of the players?
No. It'd be cool if we can get a player on.
Um, it might be. I'm definitely gonna try to get Javon Curse on.
Oh man, that would be awesome. Yeah, because April is a huge Javon Curse person, man. She loved him. I was, when I was little, during that time that he played, uh, I wasn't much of a defensive player. I was really into quarterbacks and running backs. So Steve McNair and Eddie George were just my people growing up. Uh, and of course, my favorite Titans quarterback of all time, and it will always remain this way, is Warren Moon.
Steve McNair.
Oh, I love Steve McNair, but I both Steve McNair and Warren Moon were two phenomenal quarterbacks for this franchise.
Um,
And
who was the quarterback before Steve McNair? I want to say.
oh man, I this name's on top of my tongue. Hang on.
I can't.
Because he got benched or either he got benched or he got hurt. I think he got hurt, and that's when Steve McNair started playing.
I, I don't know who it was either, but
We're about to find out.
uh, yeah, Gary, I'm really excited for the future, and I'm definitely gonna try to I'm gonna try to hit up Javon Curse on Instagram
That would be awesome, buddy.
and tell him thank you for the signature on my football.
Yeah.
He
Uh.
uh, so one of my friends actually got me a football signed by Javon Curse,
Oh, that's cool.
and I got one of these Javon Curse little player things that stands up, and I'm definitely gonna get it out, but not anytime soon because I'm gonna be leaving here soon. I'm not gonna be here in Chattanooga anymore.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be back in Nashville area.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we'll have to get together, and you'll have to come. Like I said, we'll do a big old cookout and everything. Um.
Definitely. Uh,
So it was Chris Chandler.
he sucked.
Yeah, Chris Chandler was before Steve McNair. Um,
I just,
and
I
then it
just,
was Billy Joe Tolliver, and Cody Carlson and Bucky Richardson
that's
in
weird.
1994. So that was before we drafted McNair.
Um,
And Chris
yeah,
Chandler started before McNair. Okay, so Chris Chandler started 1995 and 1996. We drafted Steve McNair in the 1995 season, and then Steve McNair took over in 1997 and was the starter since until we let him go. And see, I think it was we let him go at the end of 2005.
We're, we're definitely gonna have to get together, man, sometime soon.
Oh, definitely, for sure, buddy.
Hit me up we'll we'll definitely plan like a deep fried turkey or something.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'll cook you up something special. All right. But yeah, man, my wife's calling me, so she's probably about done with church and headed home with the twins. So I'm gonna hop off here. But Bryce, I love you, brother. Thank you for having us on. I'm really excited to have you on our podcast, and really excited to be a part of yours. So hit me up later.
Yes, sir. Got you.
All right, I'll talk to you later, buddy. Love
Love,
you.
love you, brother.